All right, y'all. Let's talk about this one real quick. All right, y'all. I'm not really surprised. I'm really not surprised with this one. I mean, when it came down to it, it really did sound too good to be true. And I don't mean too good to be true from like a fan's perspective, as far as, oh man, this is a dream. Like we're getting a big fight that I really wanted to see. Not something like that. Not something like we're getting John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Like too good to be true in that fashion. No, more so too good to be true as far as an organization just ready to go and ready to cater to the fighter. You know what I mean? Like that just sounded too good, as far as catering to their pay and their weight and stock and all of that, right? That just sounded too good to be true, man. And apparently it was, because GFL is canceling not one, but both of its events. It's canceling GFL 1 for May 24th, that's Saturday, and GFL 2 for the 25th, that's Sunday. So, yeah, man, I mean, that sucks for the fighters, but like I said, I really didn't think this thing was going to kick it off like that. Well, I actually thought they would at least put on 2 events before it really went belly up, because we talked about this on the channel before on a few of the shows. And, when we were talking about GFL, like I said, my life expectancy for GFL was probably going to be like a year or two. I thought they're going to stick around for maybe like a year or two and then, just shut it down, just say goodbye after that. I thought it was just like a 1 or 2 year event where they would just help out the older fighters and then that was it, or maybe build off of that and maybe become more, just local style, but they couldn't even do that. They couldn't even do that. I was just reading through this other article here from last night, and basically they were just saying that, the event is still looking to be rescheduled. They're looking to reschedule it at a later date. We're not sure if it's going to be in LA now, but as far as right now, nothing. And I was just looking at Ari Hawani's interview today. I guess people were trying to blame him and some other people as far as, saying this event wasn't going to take place. But according to him, he also said that he didn't think it was a good idea either, putting all these 40 somethings together and thinking this was going to sell. And that's no disrespect to the fighters, it's really not. But I agree with him on that, because I just think that this type of card, with many fighters that have seen better days and really shouldn't be fighting, I don't think that's really attractive to the fan. Some hardcore fans might want to see it like, yeah, I did want to see some of these fighters, go out on their shield and get a better chance and get a better payday. But really, when it came down to it, I was asking myself, should they even be in the cage at this point? Should Holly Holm still be in the cage? Should Tony Ferguson be in the cage? I mean, when was the last time Ferguson got a win? Or when was the last time we actually asked, oh man, like, is he coming back? Not me. I mean, how many fights has he lost in a row now? 8, and been brutally knocked out several times, right? And you got fighters like Pettis, Benson Henderson on here. Yeah, like I said, Holly Holm, Julia Budd, and, fighters like Paige Vanzant, So, I mean, granted, yeah, like I said, it's good for them if that's all they know and that's all they want to do. Yeah, but it's not really like an event that the casual fan was going to get behind. They're going to put their money on and say, oh man, I'm here to support. Because like I said before, man, like fighters, man, which I'll talk about this here in a minute, but real quick, Ari Hawani did say this in the interview. He talked to the GFL founder Darren Owen, and he basically put it out there and said, my main investor didn't fulfill his April obligation, which has caused the problem. All right, so I guess a financial situation's going wrong here at the last minute. Probably didn't feel confident in the card or the whole event or organization, and boom, there it is, right? So he also said that, okay, he didn't fulfill his obligation for April, so that's what caused it to cancel. They're looking for a date in June. They're still not sure if it's going to happen, or maybe sometime later in 2025. But from what he's saying, they're probably going to relocate it as well. It's probably not going to be in California. So that just kind of shows you the power behind it's kind of dying down. And as time went on, the more and more you just looked at the card, I was a little curious more than excited. But now that both of these are canceled, I think people are going to look at it more in a different way now, just saying, okay, like even this star power isn't enough to sell. Because again, these fighters, their stars already kind of died out. I hate to say it, but that's what happens in a fight game. The older you get, the more losses you take. It just goes down like this. And that's why I was saying before, too, a lot of these fighters, man, look, I know this is all they know, but they got to take care of themselves. They got to take care of themselves financially, because an organization like this is too good to be true. It's not going to take care of you. Something like this isn't always going to come along and just come to fruition to take care of you. So these fighters, they need to make sure that they're in better standing financially, and take care of their money. Just take care of their money. Now, for the fighters who want to continue to fight just for the sake of fighting, I mean, hey, you can't stop them until they really get hurt. But still, like, even them, like, they need to watch themselves as well, physically. Yeah, going back to what I was saying too, as far as like the fans, like the ones who are really spending their hard-earned money, like the casual fans that go to UFC events and the big UFC pay-per-views and all of that, they won't even support this really, because they're looking for the stars. They're looking for the prime fighters. That's why I say these fighters can't really depend on the fans either. So when it all comes down to it, these fighters, they got to take care of themselves, man. They really got to take care of themselves before situations like this happen. Before you wind up on a card like this that people are calling the geriatric fight league. People are actually calling that the grandfather fight league, right? So yeah, man, it sucks for the fighters, really, in the end here, because I would have tuned in and supported them, because this is all they know for the most part. I mean, look, you had fighters like Jessica Benet coming back, still wanting to fight, Kat Zingano, Julia Budd, Holly Holm. Let me see. And there were some fights that were going to work out to me for the younger fighters. The younger fighters taking on some of these seasoned veterans. That was kind of a good call for them, like Natasha Kutsatina, who was the LFA interim strawweight champion. Fighters like her, she was going to take on Jessica Aguilar. Now, maybe it wasn't wise for her to leave the LFA, and maybe I'm not sure if she dropped her interim strawweight title over there, but probably would have been better for her to just stay over in LFA, right? Maybe they threw the money at her. Who knows? But yeah, fighters like her, I think would have benefited from fighting some veterans over here. Alima Lay McFarland was fighting Viviane Pereira. Paige Vanzant fighting Randy Field. I know Paige Vanzant, of course, seen better days with this Randy Field. It was a benefit for her. She was an up-and-comer at 5-1. Let's see, you had Uriah Hall here taking on Douglas Lima. Tony Ferguson taking on Dillian Danis. I mean, for the most part, some of the men's fights seem to kind of balance out a little better. Even if they are older, like, to me, it seemed to balance out a little bit better. Some of the WMMA fights just seemed a little off the scale. Like, you have fighters who are more on the upcoming side facing somebody who's really experienced, like Alexa Connor taking on Kat Zingano, like maybe Kat, like I said before, has been losing a step, but who knows, right? Alexa Connor might still be out of her league. I'm not sure, but who knows? But anyways, overall, man, yeah, just didn't really sound like the best situation. I mean, on paper it did, right? A organization that kind of fixed the way the weigh-ins are done, the weight classes are a little different, and making sure that the fighters are going to get a good percentage of money here. A lot of good things that just sounded too much like a dream. But yeah, so GFL 1, GFL 2 are canceled for now, y'all. What do y'all think in the comment section? Do y'all think they will reschedule? My thoughts are they might, but even then, it might just be for like 1 or 2 events. I really don't see this thing being like a longevity type of organization for these fighters. Maybe just something for a quick payout for the ones that are coming through. What do y'all think, guys? Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.